This is my first YouTube video, so it might not be super crazy, but it'll be fun. So, today, I'm going to talk about movies, give you some information about certain movies, probably mostly Lord of the Rings, and then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about different books that I like that you could check out. I think that a lot of people would like. Anyway, so yes, Lord of the Rings, my favorite movie ever. And yes, it is like 12 hours long if you watch all of them straight through. So yeah, it does take a long time to watch them all, but it's worth it. If you haven't seen them, go watch them, and they're amazing. So, we're going to get into some information about a lot of things that a lot of people who are not super big fans of Lord of the Rings are. So, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about Nazguls. Yes, the scariest bad guy in the whole thing, at least in my opinion. I think they're awesome. So, a lot of people don't know a lot of things about Nazguls. They're just like, oh, they're the creepy people that ride on horses. For one thing, they are humans, but remember, they slowly turned evil from the 9 rings that were given to them. So yes, they are people, but they're more turned into ghosts type things, like spirits more. They don't really have a form anymore. Like, that's why they wear the cloak. It's to cover up their nothingness, to show that they're there. Yeah, that's dark. So yes, that is very dark. And the other thing is, they can't see very well. And I know that might be weird, but I always thought it was weird when they were hiding behind the rock, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is another one of those scenes where, like, they can't see them behind the rock, and I always thought it was so dumb. But I realized that the Nazguls can't see barely at all in the light. It's like they have no eyes in day. The dark, they can see much better. The reason why they can't see in the morning is because they turned evil, and light, they're kind of like vampires. The light doesn't necessarily burn them, but they can't see in it because it's light and they're darkness. And this is so dark, jeez. Yeah, but so they can see in the dark, but only a little bit better. They can see a little bit better, but still not the greatest. The only time they can see perfectly is the person who has the ring on. They can see the best. Which made me think, wow, Frodo, you're dumb. You put on the ring. The Nazguls can see you better now. I thought you were trying to hide from them. So, that's why they could see him so perfectly in the morning, because of that. And so yes, they can still see in the daytime. That's why they can still do things in the morning, but not as well as if you actually wore the ring. They'd like have perfect vision of you when you wear the ring. And another thing I've learned is that the ring does make you invisible, but if you really dive into it, it's not really that it makes you invisible. It makes you like half into 2 different like dimensions almost. This is confusing, but it's kind of like, you know, if you've seen the Avatar and Aang goes into the spirit world and he sees all the spirits, it's kind of like that, where Frodo's like half in that world and half in the real world, so he can still see things, but like he can see things he shouldn't be able to see. So he's more just like he's just in like 2 different dimensions instead of being invisible. And it just makes that so he's invisible to other people. But since the Nazguls are in both dimensions at the same time as well, they can also see him, which is very confusing. Yeah. So that is very confusing. But yeah. And then you might not know this, but Nazguls can talk. When I watched the movie, I didn't think they could talk. I just thought they were people that wear hoods that can't talk. That's what I thought they were, that make scary noises. But then I made a story, like a fan fiction story when I was younger, and I made the Nazguls talk. And I'm like, this is so fake, but I'm gonna do it. And then I read the books, which are amazing. Some people might tell you they're boring, but they're amazing. And as you get farther, it gets better. Don't stop in the beginning. And anyway, I read the book, and they can talk. And I was like, that's crazy. So that's another thing that's one thing they get a little wrong with the movie, is that Nazguls can talk. That's actually true. And we'll get into more stuff about the movie versus the book a little later. We're going to keep talking about some of these other interesting facts. So that's most of the main stuff about the Nazguls. If you can figure out more information about them if you look them up, but those are some of the main things. And now we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to move on to hobbits. Now, hobbits are not their real name. Most people know them by halflings. Hobbit is the name that they've made up for themselves, which is another thing the movie has gotten wrong, is that people don't know them by hobbits, they know them by halflings. So, like in the book, they'll mention that they're a hobbit, and they'll be like, what the heck is a hobbit? And then they say halfling, and they're like, oh yeah, halflings, you're right. Yeah. And, so they're actually halflings, which honestly, the definition sounds better. Halfling, hobbit, they're like half the size of a normal person, but whatever. So, have McDonald's. So, halflings and hobbits are the same thing. The halflings are their true name. But I like the name Hobbit better. Anyway, moving on. If you do not have the extended edition of Lord of the Rings and you have not read the books, you will not know this. Aragorn is not in his 20s, or 30s, or 40s, or 50s, or 60s. I don't remember his exact age, but he's somewhere in the 70s or 80s. I think he was... Oh no, he's 87. Now, this is true. If you go and read the books or watch the extended edition, you'll see that it's true. I'm not lying, I promise you. I know he looks so cute in the movie, but he is 87. He is part of another species, which they're called. They're called the Dunedain, which are men that can live extra long. So that's what he is. He is 87. He is very old for a guy that looks so young. Yes. So now let's get into some of the movie stuff versus the book. If this is going to ruin the book for you, don't watch this part. But yes, it's going to have a few spoilers, but not too much. So if you have watched the movie or have read the book or have done both, you will probably recognize what I am saying. So we'll start with this. Do you remember the fight in Helm's Deep? Yes, Helm's Deep. In the movie, the elves came. They were marching, like, yeah, we're gonna come save you. Yay! Because we're so awesome. We're elves. So, like, royalty. Anyway. The book, the elves don't come. And they still do just as good. So, I feel like they make men a little bit weaker in the movie. Just saying. The elves don't come in that fight. And then here's some other things. The part where Arwen comes in the movie to save Frodo, because he got stabbed by Nazgul. That part, Arwen comes in the book. But if you have read, or the movie, I meant the movie. Arwen comes in the movie. If you have read the book, though, you will notice that the person who comes and saves Frodo is not even a girl. He's a boy. Don't quite remember the elf's name, but he was an elf, one of Aragorn's friends. And he had come to find him because he somehow knew that they were in trouble. And yeah, so he comes and helps. It's a little bit different too, because Frodo doesn't just immediately turn into a Nazgul. He slowly gets worse. He can still talk, he can still kind of move, but they put him on his horse, one of the horses they brought, and, well, they only had one horse, but they had him on the horse. He could walk a little bit, but he would get really tired fast, and he would slowly, see darkness. His eyesight would get worse, and the Nazguls came and attacked him once, and he was on his own in that part on the water. Arwen wasn't helping him. He was alone. And the Nazguls talked in that part. And yeah, so that's what happened. The elf came, and he slowly got worse instead of immediately getting worse. So that's some of the interesting facts about Lord of the Rings, if you have not known any of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. So now I'm going to get into some books, that if you need some book suggestions, I'm giving you ones that are completely okay, because I'm very religious, so I have to read clean books. So it's one of my favorite books. It's called Invisible. There's 3 books in the series. It's by Cecilia Ann Patterson, who is actually an Australian writer. She writes very clean books, and it's about real life problems that girls and even boys can have. And so if you want to check it out, that would be amazing. I think you would love it. But that is all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll be sending out new ones about Marvel and other things, possibly Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, a bunch of different fan stuff that everybody loves, So I will hopefully hear about you guys soon, and leave in the comments who your favorite Lord of the Rings character is. I'd love to hear it. And also, if you have any suggestions of any movie or book I should do next. Well, see you later. Bye.